slightly improvise. About last week I went to AA meeting, and they had a meeting which I thought was really cool, was on sayings. Sayings you hear in AA, and these same sayings you'll hear in NA. I don't know if you'll hear them in Sober and Recovery, but you know, one of I'm going to go over here, David. I'm going to use this board. One of the first things we tell guys that come into Souls Harbor is how. H-O-W, right? And what does that mean? Honesty, right? By the way, this is in the back of the big book. Open-mindedness and willingness, right? So what does that mean? What it means is I got to be honest with myself that I'm a drug addict or an alcoholic. Because if I'm not honest, and be honest with you, again, I've seen 1,200 guys. I've seen probably 20 guys that don't say that they aren't a drug addict or an alcoholic. In fact, one of the guys is up there on the wall, Maurice, who said, I'm not a drug addict, I'm not an alcoholic. And guess what he died of? Died of drug addiction. Right? So, that, you have to be honest with yourself and say, hey, I got a problem. Open-mindedness means, hey, my way of running my life stunk, right? Because it got me here at Souls Harbor. I'm homeless. My family's, mad at me. I don't have a nickel to my name. So my way isn't working. So maybe I should do what millions and millions and millions of recovering drug addicts and alcoholics do. And that's working the 12 steps, right? Either in A or in A. And willingness, this is the big one. Out of all three of them, if you aren't willing, you aren't going to go anywhere. So if you're saying, hey, I'm just here for the 6 month and then I'm going to go out, I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm not really willing to change my life. North Carolina, when I got sober, they used to have a saying that everything's going to change about you except your sobriety day and clean day, right? What do I see with these guys leaving here? Nothing changes but their sobriety and clean day, right? So that, to me, your sobriety and clean day is the day you should have etched in cement. We've actually have a couple guys that had tattoos. Kevin Jackson, who you know, and I think he'll be picking up his 5 or 6 year chip in a month or two, has it tattooed. When is it?
Sonny Vaughn.
And Sonny Vaughn. Oh, 3 guys, Sonny. And both of them are staying sober. And then one guy, Tony Weed, who relapsed about a year ago. And I said, well, here's a Brillo tag. So I'm not into tax, but to me, this is one day at a time deal. And so don't ever think you have it. My sobriety day is June 6, 2007. So in a couple months, or really a month, in a few days, I will have 12 years. But I don't have this thing. So that's honesty, open-mindedness. Another one that I like is halt, right? What does halt is like your triggers. What is that?
Hungry,
angry, which in the big book said, the A big book, lonely,
and tired.
And tired, right? I like that one, except, I don't see too many guys, except probably fat guys, like relapse on hunger. Right? I switched this, which to me is the #1 offender besides money. I use this. You know why I changed this to?
Angry.
No, horny. How many guys get a woman, right? And she's doing crack or meth or heroin or whatever, right? And they relapse right away. It's just like the Adam and Eve story, right? So this to me is, this is a clear thing where a woman drags the guys out of their sobriety. Another one that I love, which you guys may not know, know what sober stands for? Son of a bitch, everything's real.
Everything's real.
Right? So, and there's a zillion sayings. Another favorite of mine is, if you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to get haircut. In other words, if you hang around a bar and you're an alcoholic, what's going to happen? You're going to start drinking. You hang around a bunch of your old friends or drug addicts, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go back and use it again. So that's what that saying means. Now, I'm going to go back to the how. In fact, the how, somebody says who, it doesn't really matter. This is honesty, all right? I want to be honest with you guys. You don't even know this, right? About a week and a few days ago, I had that mental obsession, right? I had that thought that I couldn't get rid of, right? I'm putting this out here. And it just wouldn't go away. It wouldn't go away. And I prayed a little bit, but really spiritually I was kind of sick that day. And finally, guess what? I relapsed. I relapsed on my diet. I was 219 pounds at the beginning of January. 219 pounds. Today I weigh myself, I weigh 187. All right? I was big, right? And so what happened? Easter Sunday, me and Meredith go to this buffet where there's all this food and cakes, all this stuff. And I said, you know what? Screw it. Right? But what are the consequences? You get fat. But the thing is to be honest with you, that week because I only cheated for that one meal, I still lost 1 pound. Now I've been averaging 1 to 2 pounds a week. Right? So I see that as a relapse on my diet. And in fact, I'm going to use the analogy. That's the way most of you guys in this room treat your sobriety. That's like a diet. So what? Who cares? Right? I'm not serious about it. If I relapse, no big deal. It is a big deal. All those guys up there relapse. All those guys up there on the wall relapse. And they relapse almost immediately after leaving Soul's Heart. And see, what are the consequences of relapsing on drugs or alcohol? Let's write it down.
Jails, institutions, or death.
Jails, institution, or death, right? And where are we right now? We're in a jail, prison. They have to do jail, you finally graduate to prison. You have death. What else is there? Institution. What else do you lose? Family. Job. Sanity.
Self-respect.
Self-respect. Right?
You lose yourself.
So see, the thing is, and we can go on and on and on, right? We go on and on and on of relapsing. Right? And I'll never forget, I've told this story before, is I've had 3 sponsors over the 12 years. But anyway, one of my sponsors said to me, Brent, what are you willing to do to keep your sobriety? I just, was like a parrot and saying, well, I'll go to meetings, call you, call people with support group. Yeah, but he goes, no, but what will you do? You know what I told him? I said, I will jump off a bridge. By the way, I'm afraid of heights. Right? I am just afraid of heights. All right? I said, I'll jump off a bridge and die. If I ever succumb to drinking or drugging again. That's how serious I am. So if you ever see me that I died and I was on, like Trinity River bridges, I go by there almost every day running. If you see me on the bottom of the Trinity River, that's because I was very, very close to relapsing. That's how serious I am. I'm not kidding around. But you guys, to you guys, it's like a diet, right? No big frickin', yes, it is a big frickin' deal. You need to step up your game and be serious about this, all right? Otherwise, you'll end up on the wall. You know, one of the exercises, when Josh was here, he would have you guys, each one of you guys, write your own little plaque up there as a memorial. And that's what I would suggest to you. Write your story of what you were doing at Souls Harbor, what your life was like, and then why you relapsed. Right? That's how seriously you should take this thing. Now, the second topic is, this is my, I have a lot of different pet peeves, but this one really ticks me off, is when somebody says, well, my drinking and drugging only hurts myself. Right? You know how many parents, mother, fathers that I talk to? Because we don't see that side. In fact, Tim told me about a book called Dear Dad from Louis Anderson, who's a fat comedian from Minneapolis. And I'm almost finished that book. It's a great book. But here's a guy who's a very successful comedian, and he talks about his dad. His dad passed away, but his dad was a big alcoholic, right? And he had like 11 kids or 12 kids, something like that. And in the book, he'd write a letter to his dead dad and say, you affected me this way. Because see, the thing is we don't see that side of the equation. We don't see it. In fact, one of the guys up here on the wall said he didn't have any family. And he cut his family off. We found out this guy had a twin sister that he hadn't seen in almost 20 years. And through I don't know how the Dallas County, the mortician found her, but he found her in Houston. And this lady called me out of the blue and said, hey Brent, do you know this guy? I go, yeah, he was our intake coordinator. I've known him the first day I came here. And he died. The sad thing is he died in his apartment of alcoholism, and they didn't find him until almost a month after he. Because that's what this disease does. It's a lonely disease. We've gone past the party of wooing. You know, when we woo, right? We have a bunch of people over. We're in survival mode when we start drinking and drugging. This is a lonely, lonely, lonely disease. In fact, probably 4 or 5 guys up there have died by themselves. Can you imagine? Somebody finding your body after a month. You know how what sets in after a month? That's the disease, guys. That's the disease. And how many calls I've taken from mothers who are crying and saying, about their 20-year-old or 30-year-old or 40 or 50-year-old son saying, I can't take it anymore. Doesn't he see what he's doing? And you know what the reality is? We don't. We don't. So when you say, I'm not hurting anybody, come here and tell me that. And I'll show you a bunch of telephone calls I made. I have a recording of a guy, of his son passing away. The guy he's like a 24, 25-year-old guy. Just his chisel. He's like 6'2", 200 pounds, probably 190, just all muscle. Good-looking guy, had a very high future of him. He went back because of what? His girl, he was there 3 months, and we used to work out every lunchtime. That's back when I was in shape of running and lifting weights. And he was very, very polite. Yes, sir, no, sir, whatever. So I got to know him because we used to do that at lunchtime. And anyway, long story short, he came in like right after Memorial Day, and then Labor Day, he said, you know what? It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was out running errands, going to the bank and stuff. And he said to our operations manager, yeah, I'll be back. Because his old girlfriend had called him. So he hooked up with his old girlfriend. He started shooting heroin late that afternoon and that evening, and he passed away at 2:30 in the morning. And here was a guy who I thought was in excellent shape, right? That's this disease. That's the other thing I mentioned about this that I've talked about before is make sure you're back in shape when you relapse, right? Because the reality is your body has gotten used to being sober and clean for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it may be, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. And then when you take that drug or the alcohol or those pills, it's like you don't know how to curtail it. By that, you mean you don't know how to monitor it. If you did know how to monitor it, guess what? You wouldn't have been here. You would say, hey, that's enough. But that's enough is not in my vocabulary or your vocabulary, right? And so we start taking the drinks or the pills or the drugs, and guess what? Your body's going, ooh, ooh. And it's a shock system. And that I'm going to say half those guys up there had some clean time, and because they had that clean time, it was a detriment to them. Because it was a shock to their system. So, anyway, don't ever say, I'm not hurting anybody. Because you know what? If you say that to me, I'll pull out your parents, your sisters, your brothers, your wives, your significant others, whatever, and I will talk to them with you and say, did he hurt me? Now, there are guys in here that come from an alcoholic family, right? And I feel sorry for you because, you know, that was their norm. Your norm for some of you guys was to get high or drunk in that family. So maybe that isn't true for you, but still, there's probably a sober sister or brother who has their head straightened up that you did affect. So anyway, we're going to cut that off.